готовність стояти плече в плече з Україною в цю важку годину.
It gives me great pleasure to write to you to express our immense gratitude and appreciation for your commitment to stand with Ukraine in this hour of dire need.
Реакція британського суспільства на вкрай складну ситуацію, перед якою опинилася наша держава та її громадяни, була просто вражаючою.
The response of the British public to our plight has been simply amazing.
So, I look after this small chapel. I've been involved in current affairs for years. I've protested against numerous wars and incursions and military actions and seen the consequences of that. I decided that we should do something more proactive, and instead of campaigning against war, I decided that we should effectively commit ourselves to peace and to fight for that. And so hence I discovered this story of peace polls around the world, partly from North America, but also driven by the horrors of the Second World War in Japan. And I thought it was a movement we should align ourselves with. So here we are, nearly 3 years later from that decision.
I'm the Reverend John Carter, minister for Lincoln and Hull Unitarian Chapels, and we are here to dedicate a peace pole to celebrate the desire for peace and to challenge people to work for peace. Ed and I, over a year ago, had a conversation, but one of the reasons I'm for it is that I'm trying to get as many Unitarian chapels and others to put up peace poles as well. Kind of try to develop a peace pilgrimage, letting people travel to places to see the various poles that are going up, and hopefully each one will be creative and different. Myself, as being the chair of the Unitarian Peace Fellowship, is that we are trying to get more Unitarians involved in a more proactive call for peace, particularly with the current situation in the Ukraine. There are a lot of people have been giving support for the Ukrainians in that, but we also think that it's important that we do more, and the peace pole not in a very intrusive way, but does bear witness that we also stand for the idea of working for peace, and that is very much within our theological framework as Unitarians.
That's what that means, and so we are here nearly 3 years later with the peace pole to inaugurate. I want to thank all those who have been involved. For those that don't know, this was quite a rough piece of wood. We literally have sanded it and smoothed it and talked about it endlessly, it would seem, but we are finally here today. I want to thank my good friend John Carter, Reverend John Carter, for talking me through the theology, as it were, of peace poles and what it means. I have been an activist most of my life, and I have protested against many wars and many incursions and many armed conflicts, and I realised that actually protesting against something was largely a negative act. I wanted to fight for something. We have a bell at the end of our armistice services. We usually ring a bell for peace. We have removed the clapper from the bell when Ukraine was invaded, and the clapper will not go back into the bell until the conflict in Ukraine is over. And then we have some poppies which have been handmade. They are white to symbolise the commitment to peace. They are green to illustrate the violation of the environment and the climate change consequences of conflict. And then pink to represent those who are innocently caught up in war and often imprisoned at no consequence to those who imprison them, but at huge consequence to their families.
We shall try and still our minds, drive out the distractions, and to focus on peace. In the silence we try and listen, to hear the wisdom of lives long gone. This is a place of peace, a garden, a burial ground, a haven. People in joy, in hope, and in disparity have gathered here. In these briefest of moments, we commit to peace. A notion not of silence, but of lives well lived. This is a place of peace.
Hope, for courage, and for unity. And to do this in peace and with love in our hearts.
This is what has brought us here. This is why we have shaped this peace pole. And that is why we have gathered. Let it be so.
If anyone else wishes to come forward and take a poppy and plate one, they can do so. There are a number of Ukrainian families living here. The war in Ukraine is not the sole reason why we're doing this, but it's a trigger. It's probably the most visible trigger for us all, and so I just wanted us to sort of take that problem and turn it into a virtue and say, actually, we've got Ukrainians living here. We are part of this conversation, and Russian lives are being lost. That's not good either. This isn't a one side. This is a dedication to peace, not to victory. And I think that's the important distinction. You can celebrate winning a war, you can commiserate losing a war, or alternatively, you can commit yourself to peace, which is the outcome of both. And that's what we've got to fight for.
14 months of a full-scale invasion accompanied by horrendous violence and staggering destruction. No country in the world desires peace more than Ukraine.
З найкращими побажаннями.
Sincerely, Edward Vesco.
We've managed to get our peace pole up. It's taking us a little while. I'm happy to give you the tools. Why don't you get on and have your own? Let's all join this campaign, not just to oppose war, but to fight for something constructive and achieve the peace. Where does it end? I've no idea. I hope it ends with fewer conflicts or more peace. That's got to be the aspiration. I want everyone to be a part of it.